This is after the flag, after a highly dramatic Catalan Grand Prix, a hugely dramatic race day across MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3. Incredible action in the smaller classes and dramatic action in MotoGP. Lewis Suddaby and Simon Crafar are ready to talk you through all of the key moments and key issues in the Catalan Grand Prix. A day that belongs ultimately to Aprilia. They took their first 1-2 in the MotoGP class, but also, Simon, a day of high drama, particularly at the start of the Grand Prix. Not the kind of instance that we want to see to start the Grand Prix, involving Pecco, the world champion, involved in that lap 1 incident. First of all, your view on the incident at turn 1, and then also what followed with Pecco.
Yeah, the turn 1 incident, I think everyone can see what happened. Bastianini, collected Zarco, and there was skittles after that, and it was a mistake, The thing is, the turn 1 has got more and more pressure on it, because you need to be in a good position. It's difficult to pass more than in the past, and the start is so important. So we're seeing a few of these incidents, I think, because of the pressure of the start. Then the next one was Bagnaia flicks left. He's in the right position. He's got the start. Ducati's new start device that only he and Martine have clearly works, because both starts here, him and Martine just nailed it. Was really impressive. Then on the left side of the tyre, on that harder medium rear, it lit up, and it was like 500 days high side, poor fella. Then Binder had nowhere to go. So, yeah, not a nice thing. But I have to say that it wasn't as scary as being hit in upper body or something like that, which would make the whole paddock, all the riders, at least it was lower leg, and he's going to bounce back.
Yeah, hopefully Pecco Bagnaia does make a quick recovery from that. It was probably a 1-2 today. As you can see, though, best of the rest, and third place for Jorge Martine. Let's hear the words from him now. He's with Matt Burt.
Yeah, third place to Jorge Martine. Jorge, it was a lonely race. Of course, you knew beforehand it was going to be very, very difficult to beat the Aprilias, in particular with Aleix and Maverick. But having missed the podium the last 3 Sundays, you must be happy to return. If you'd like to have been a bit closer, I'm sure.
Yeah, today was a really complicated race, but also the weekend overall was difficult. But I feel like I was closing the gap every day. I'm happy about this, and I think we get the maximum we could. Finishing on the podium. The Aprilias were unbeatable this weekend. I tried the best, but with Ducati we struggled a lot to turn the bike, to put the power on the ground. And in the last laps it seemed like I was riding a super sport for sure. But I'm happy. Finishing on the podium after, as you said, 3 Sundays without get me a lot of confidence for Misano. It's also a difficult race, but much better for Ducati, so hopefully we can enjoy another podium over there.
It was a very dramatic start to the first initial run, of course. You missed all the drama at the first corner, but then I guess you saw exactly what happened with Pecco Bagnaia. Just talk us through from what you saw from your perspective, because it was pretty scary.
It was really scary, as you said. I was a bit scared and a bit on shock, because I saw Binder pass through Pecco's legs, so I was a bit scared. But then now they told me he's not injured a lot, so I'm happy for this for sure, and hopefully he can be full fit next time in Misano. And after that, Binder sprayed me a lot of oil, so all my bike was full of oil. I broke the swing arm also, so it was a really dramatic moment, but I had the other bike ready to race, and finally, thanks to my team, they could change everything and be ready to race.
Of course, you knew the Aprilias were going to be strong. We know that Ducati's absolute rocket off the line right now. You got the whole shot, and then Maverick came by at turn 4. And did you know straight away it was like, that's it, I'm not going to be winning the race today?
I knew I was going to be first into first corners. I know I have that confidence in the starts. This morning I did a historic record in starts, so I'm happy, and it's a thing that we improved compared to KTM, for example, during all the season. It's a really important part of the race nowadays, and hopefully next time we have better grip, because this track it's quite complicated. I think the worst in the calendar, and I feel like this feeling and these conditions we won't have the rest of the season.
Jorge, great job. Good to see you back here on a Sunday again. We'll see you in Misano next weekend.
Yeah, back-to-back podiums in Barcelona for Jorge Martine, and to pick up on what he said there, he said, I kind of needed this result for my confidence, because it's easy to forget that since his victory at the Sachsenring, which you felt would have been maybe a real springboard for Jorge Martine. He's actually not been on the podium since then. We have seen him on sprint podiums since then, but not on a Sunday. So how important was this result for him?
Important, but I know Jorge quite well. We both live in Andorra, and I can tell that he's not really happy. He's a winner, and those 2 Aprilias were gone, and he wants to stand back on the top step, you know, and he knows he can. He's frustrated with what's happened, you know, in the last part. You know, he pointed out that Pecco and him were the Ducatis to beat here. He's basically saying that he feels he's back, and I think he could be, you know, like that. He wants to be, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, third for him today, behind the factory Aprilias of Pol Espargaro and Maverick Vinales. We saw a lot during the race of how punishing this circuit was on tyres. We saw the right side of the front tyres really going through a lot of hard time. Why in particular is this circuit so tough on tyres?
Yeah, it's mainly, I mean, they talk about the low grip. When you ride it on a normal bike like I did on Thursday, it feels great. It's absolutely fine, but they've got so much horsepower. I spoke to the Michelin technicians that the stones here are polished a bit, shiny. So the base is fantastic, meaning no bumps. It's beautiful to ride. The thing is, that the turns, the actual layout, make you spend so much time on the right-hand side of the tyre that the temperature just goes up and up and up and up as the seconds pass by, and you know you're feeding on that throttle. And it's the same on the front. You spend so much time. There's 3 right-handers in a row in a couple of sections here. So that is why the temperature gets so high, and you need the edge grip. The only way to go fast on the long corners is to use your edge grip, where when you have more stop-start corners, you can get off the edge and use the more centre of the tyre. You're forced to use the edge here, and it runs out, you know, and that's basically it. Front tyre-wise, they had to use a medium. They had a hard, but that was made for high track temperatures, and we didn't have them. So they had to run the medium. Wasn't hot enough for the hardest one, and the medium struggled over the distance, especially if the machine was set up or the rider put a lot of stress on it.
In the end, it was conditions, both in terms of the track layout, the track profile, that were tailor-made in the end for Aprilia and for Aleix Espargaro. And for Aleix personally, in terms of what went through his mind after last year's obvious mistake that he made on the final lap, I guess this was the ideal way to put that to bed. In terms of the overall weekend as a whole, from the first lap on Friday to the last lap on Sunday, it's difficult to pinpoint a more complete weekend from Aleix Espargaro in his MotoGP career.
I couldn't agree more. The machine, I'm so happy for Aprilia because I mean, it was only 3 years ago that we were looking at Aprilia like, you know, the poor relative, you know, in this championship. You couldn't imagine them having what they had, I believe, this morning when I walked into pit lane, and that was, I felt that they are so clearly the best machine at this circuit that all other manufacturers, no matter how huge, are looking at their machine with envy. And that's a stunning progress, you know, stunning recovery over the last 3 years. Aleix is a big part of it, you know, helping develop that machine. And they've obviously got very clever engineers. And Maverick, the two of them, they've got totally different styles. The way they sit on the bike, their strong points are different, but they were first and second using that different way of riding. They're great riders on a great machine. Got a great result.
Yeah, 1-2 finish for them, their first ever in MotoGP. In terms of the journey they're on, because they would still feel they've got another step to go to be able to beat Ducati consistently, what do you think they need now to make that final step to be able to challenge Ducati everywhere?
Yeah, good point. Their strong point showed so much here, like I said, because of those long corners. That's what the Aprilia is good at. That's why we see them go well at Phillip Island, Assen, Silverstone, even Sachsenring, where you spend a long time. They're fantastic at the fast turns, carrying speed. Nobody can match them. You know, it used to be the Japanese inline bikes that were the only ones that could do it. Now it's Aprilia. Ducati can't match them in that area, but they can't quite match Ducati on the stop-start corners. You know, maybe Maverick can because that's what he does well. But amongst other things, yeah, so they really need to be able to stop the machine as well as Pecco. That's why Pecco's so hard to overtake. And then from a slow corner, be able to accelerate like the Ducati. So they've got the opposite strong points at the moment.
And in terms of Aleix Espargaro and the ride that he put in today, it looked at one point in the race where I think he made a mistake and slipped around a second and a half back, but it seemed pretty clear that Aleix Espargaro knew he had the pace, and it was just a case of trying to catch his teammate Maverick Vinales, but also making sure that he saved some tyre for the end. He had to play that balancing act between catching his teammate, but also saving something for the end. Yeah,
very good point. And Aleix did do that well, and people noticed yesterday that his front tyre looked the best of everyone's, you know, especially at the front group, and I think it did again today. It looked better than Maverick's, that for sure. Aleix made a good point in Parc Ferme that with the wind he struggled to carry the speed like he likes to, and Maverick actually felt stronger because he's good at the stop-start type riding style, and he doubted himself. I'm sure he's going to tell us again that he wondered if, oh no, with this wind, can I beat Maverick, you know? But yeah, gritted his teeth, and fantastic job. Again, like Aprilia 3 years ago, we wouldn't have believed that Aleix could do this, you know, because he had such a long, barren run in MotoGP, and now he's proved all the doubters wrong.
Yeah, he's putting it together on a consistent basis nowadays, isn't he? Maverick Vinales then in second place in the end for a lot of that Grand Prix. Maverick must have been dreaming of that historic third different victory for a different manufacturer. Of course, a winner already for Suzuki in 2016. He's, of course, taken many a victory for Yamaha, the last of which came in 2021. Ultimately, from Maverick's point of view, he seemed pretty happy at the end, but will he ultimately just reflect and say the better man won on the day? We'll ask you that in a moment, because we can ask Maverick himself now. Second place today for him, part of an historic Aprilia 1-2. Let's get his post-race thoughts with Matt Burt.
Yeah, Maverick Vinales, second in the Grand Prix here in Barcelona. Maverick so close to that victory you so desperately wanted, but how special is it to star in that historic day for Aprilia, first and second?
Just to see the joy and the happiness of everyone on the team was amazing. Honestly, this day is one of my favorite ones on racing, and yes, I cannot ask for anything else. I try to win, I fight for the win, yeah, Aleix was a bit faster at the end, but this is like that, you know. We play this game, and for me it's pretty curious to see how the things change when you believe in yourself and when you believe in the project. And I'm quite in shock, because at the end we did historical results for Aprilia this weekend, and to put Aprilia where he is right now is not an easy job. So just I want to say thank you for all the guys on the factory, all the guys that are working so hard, to Aleix, to bring me in Aprilia and to enjoy these days like that.
So you owe him a couple of beers tonight then, because he helped you get the ride in Aprilia. Maverick, you did so much of the front running, and then we saw how difficult it was to manage the right-hand side of the front tyre. We saw on the live coverage that you had quite significant problems with the graining. He passed you on the brakes going into the first corner on lap 20. You joked afterwards about him having a long lap penalty. But
maybe. Stewards, come on. No, I'm joking. This was a race incident, of course. I have to say that I give up. I just pick up the bike, go, lose 1 second, do all the things correct. I didn't want to mess anything or to do something crazy. It's true that he was a bit faster at the end, so was no meaning to fight or to make a mistake. And I enjoy so much. Honestly, when I start to see 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, I was just enjoying so much. You cannot believe how much I grow today. You cannot believe in my head. This is what I needed.
Maverick, it's pretty much 2 years since, of course, we know what happened with Yamaha, but you got this opportunity to move to Aprilia. They, in effect, saved your career. So here you are today. It must make that extra special feeling for you.
Yeah, I bet to myself, not to anyone else. And I know what I'm able to do, how I can ride the bikes, and I think the mental power is something unbelievable. And I tell you, today I feel something I was missing on the race, and I think Misano is going to be different.
Can you tell us what was missing and what you found?
Oh, just to be in the front, get that feeling again, to put the rhythm, to be the leader, and yeah, you don't realize until you are there, and was something I was gracias, crack. I was missing for a long time, and now I know how to do it. You know, when you know how to do it one thing, you will do again. So I will try.
There's going to be some big Aprilia parties tonight, Maverick, after such a fantastic weekend. We saw some special celebrations. We know you're such good friends with Alaise from back in your Suzuki days as well. You swapped bikes on the cool-down now. Can you tell us what that was all about?
I don't know. He came, says, swap the bike. I say, okay. So we swapped the bike, and I think it was pretty crazy, no? Just this means how much we have with Aprilia, how much we are all in touch, and that's fantastic. I mean, to see all the joy and all the happiness that these guys have there in the Parc Fermé and how much effort they are putting in, just realized me so much today.
Good to see the Top Gun firing again. Well done, Maverick. Great weekend. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations to Maverick Vinales, and pretty clear then that celebration that we saw from Alaise and Maverick was rather spontaneous, that there was no pre-plan behind that. We'll break off quickly just to bring you an update if you're watching live on Pecco Bagnaia, on the crash that happened to him on the first lap. So Dr. Angel Chatre has spoken to our Spanish broadcast colleagues DAZN, so I'll do my best to paraphrase his comments. Pecco has a severe polytrauma after he was, of course, hit in the femoral and tibial area. We have taken x-rays of this area and we've detected a small injury. We don't know if it is current or old. You might remember Pecco Bagnaia broke his leg back in 2020 as well. We need to do an urgent CAT scan, and that is why we have sent him to the General Hospital. The image we have seen is from conventional radiology, so it is difficult to be sure that there is no fracture. That is necessary in that case to do a CAT scan. But it seems that on the whole, Pecco Bagnaia is relatively okay, and we of course wish him a speedy recovery to get back on track as soon as possible. Back to Maverick Vinales then, and a great interview with Maverick, of course, a happy Maverick. I think we all love to see him with that big smile on his face. And it seems through Maverick's career, such a key part of getting the best out of him is the environment that is around him, being happy within the team that he's in. And it's very clear on days like today when you look at Maverick just how happy he is within Aprilia and how proud he is to be part of their ascent up the order.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's what it's like. That's what I see at the moment. Maverick, I've repeatedly doubted over the years because he has an incredible amount of talent, you know, as a rider, but with all sports people, it's a balance of natural ability, you know, talent and work ethic, you know, and I've doubted how much that he's wanted it, you know, because just it feels like deja vu, you know. We wait and we see how fast he is, but it doesn't happen, and the team are assuring me I'm wrong, no, and I'm happy to hear that. I really am, that coming into this weekend, I'm wrong. He really wants it. He's going to do it. So I'm because he's such a nice fella as well. You know, I'm so happy for him, you know, and I want him to prove me wrong.
Well, no one wanted it more today than Pol Espargaro's sprint victory yesterday and the Grand Prix victory today. His second win in 3 races. He's with Matt.
What an amazing weekend for the man standing in front of me. What an amazing weekend for the factory Aprilia team. Pol Espargaro, first of all, Alaise, huge congratulations. A dream, a fairy tale, the double win in front of your home crowd. The twins on the podium, Max and Mia. Doesn't really get any better than that, does it?
I would love to stop the world and enjoy for a couple of months this moment. It's been amazing, especially because yesterday's race was quite easy, let's say. I felt very good on the bike. Today was the opposite. I felt really bad. I didn't really enjoy riding the bike with the wind blowing. I was not able to do my riding style, and Maverick was very, very fast. He pushed me into the limit, so I never, in any other circuit, I will finish second. But today I said, no way, or crash or win, and I risked a lot. It was a lot of tension. And when I saw my kids on the podium giving me the trophy, I saw my life, my whole life, you know, passing in front of my eyes, and it's been an unforgettable moment.
Just let's go back to the start of the day. It was very, very dramatic in the first run of Alaise. You didn't get the best of starts, and you were pretty fortunate actually not to get caught up in that first corner incident. And then, of course, unfortunately, the big crash for Pecco Bagnaia. From your own point of view, can you tell us what happened in both incidents?
Yeah, I started very bad, and I saw in the right side I saw a bike coming very fast. So when I came into the apex, I hear some sound, and I decided to accelerate, and I went into the green because to avoid a crash, and I avoided for just a couple of centimeters. And then in front of me, Pecco did a high side, and Brad hit him, and I was full of oil due to the engine of the blowing engine of Brad. And I almost crashed then in corner 3 because my tires were full of oil. I went into the garage. I had to change my helmet, my suit, everything. For me, in my opinion, they didn't give enough time after the dramatic start. We had an ambulance there. They had to clean the track, so it was quite dramatic. I have to say I didn't start really focused. It was difficult for me to restart, but in any case, luckily everybody's okay.
When you got focus, you were unstoppable. We saw you drop back over a second to Maverick at one stage in the race. We didn't see it live on the TV, but was that just a couple of mistakes?
Yes, exactly. I did one mistake in corner 1, and then trying to recover the half-second mistake in corner 3, I made a high side, and I lose double. So for a moment, I said to myself, because after the incident, I pushed like a hell 2 laps, and I didn't recover anything. I said to myself, you have to accept it. He's faster today. But then I say, okay, if he's faster, he's gonna win, but he will sweat. He will sweat. So I push like a hell, like a qualifying. I risk a lot, and it pays off. But I've been lucky also because the risk level that I take has been high.
You love turn 1. You made the race-winning overtake on Pecco there yesterday. You did it to Maverick today. He was joking that you should have had a long lap penalty. Of course, he was only joking. It was a clean and hard move.
But the limit.
Yeah, you've been very good in the brakes into turn 1 this weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah. I've been good, but due to the wind, it was difficult to stop the bike. We arrived very quick there, and Maverick also was not able to go into the corner. Me too. So we both went wide. But I think I did the corner good 3 laps out of 23 today, and Maverick as well. So then I closed a little bit the throttle in corner 3 when I saw that he was out of track, so I didn't push the split to let him come again. But you know, this is racing, and we were fighting for the victory.
A great day for Aprilia, of course, and a rather unusual celebration. Afterwards, you swapped bikes with Maverick on the cool-down lap. Can you tell us what that was all about?
You know, it came into my mind. It came into my mind when in Austria 3 years ago or 4 years ago, when Maverick was suffering, crying, and I said to him on the flyby back home, you will join us in Aprilia, we'll come, no worry. But he was not really sure at that moment because we were very far. The Aprilia was not competitive, and I remember that I said to him, we're going to win together. And a lot of people criticize me because they say you are bringing to the team one very strong guy, and this is racing, you have to beat your teammate. And I say, okay, but 2 strong riders working together with the engineers can arrive more far. And today we did 1-2 for Aprilia. We put Aprilia on top of the world, and I'm extremely proud. And I think Aprilia have to be proud of the 2 riders they have.
That was a very good prediction 2 or 3 years ago. You can pick my lottery numbers this weekend now. Like, huge congratulations to you. Huge congratulations to Aprilia. Enjoy, I'm sure, what is going to be a very big party tonight.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm sure it will be. The party is in full swing already for Pol Espargaro and Maverick Vinales. And we sometimes don't often focus enough on the human side of motorcycle racing and racing at this level. We've had an opportunity to reflect on it today with the injury for Pecco Bagnaia, but also Pol Espargaro there speaking about the feeling of going up onto that podium in front of so many of his compatriots, his family, his home crowd, his son and daughter able to present the trophy to him on the podium. We also saw Max yesterday with the sprint gold medal around his neck. It's important for Pol on days like today just to take a step back and just acknowledge that this might be one of the best days of his professional life.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see little Max holding that trophy up. It melted my heart. I think what I took most of all from that interview was a perfect example of what I was talking about right before, is how much he wanted it, you know, and so he made it happen. And I really
Any
liked
other
it.
race, he said that he would have settled for second.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, trying to win. You know, that the people that win have to do that, you know, just dig so deep. But it's such a fine line between pleasure and pain, you know. Also, it made me think, his interview, about the great group of people in Aprilia. I've got to say, I really like them, really respect them. They're very open, very patient, you know, because other teams would have done what I was feeling, in that, Maverick's not going to do it. And they've fully backed him for a long time, and it's, it's coming to fruition, that patience. But also they've put in the last few years, they've put a great group of people together. And like I said, I really like them, and they're very clever, very open-minded. They're not trying to cover up everything. They talk about what they're doing and what they're trying to do, and it's awesome to watch. They led here, and it's not the first time they've been the best machine, so impressive work from Aprilia in general.
Aprilia 1-2 today, a Pramac Ducati 3-4. We've already heard from Jorge Martine. John Zarco took fourth in the end, staying out of trouble to bring home 13 points for Pramac Ducati. But the success story for Aprilia doesn't really end with Pol Espargaro and Maverick Vinales 1 and 2, because, of course, Miguel Oliveira this weekend qualified on the front row of the grid. Didn't necessarily get the best of the first lap in the sprint, which is why he had to recover in the end to finish in 6th. But a 6th and a 5th this weekend for Miguel Oliveira and a front row start. If there was ever a rider who deserved a little bit of success this season based on what he's been through, Miguel's probably that guy. Couldn't
agree more. And his team, Miguel and the RNF crypto data team have really suffered this year, and it hasn't been fair. You've got to remember, Miguel is on the 1-year-old Aprilia. I mean, he didn't have the same fairings as he doesn't have exactly the same machine. It is what Aleix rode last year, and Aprilia have made a step forward pretty much in all areas. So I think he did a great job. I believe we'll hear from his debrief, but I believe he suffered from that front tyre. Because he couldn't hold that same pace, and pretty much Jorge said, he was fast in the beginning and then dropped back. I think he suffered from tyres. But first, great to see him back, and imagine what he'd do if he had the latest bike as well. So, yeah, I look forward to see what Miguel will do from here and what they do with him next year.
Yeah, interesting to see what happens with that one. As far as KTM are concerned, I guess just a weekend where the luck wasn't really on their side ultimately. Certainly not today. Brad Binder coming through to 4th in the sprint yesterday from 9th on the grid. Of course, he was the rider that ran over Pecco Bagnaya's leg at the initial start and then encountered mechanical problems soon after the restart. Guess in the end, just a Sunday that didn't quite play out for them.
Yeah, I mean, really, Brad was in around Miguel, Jorge, somewhere, either side of them. I think he would have finished today. And you know what he's like. He wouldn't have given up. I think beginning of the luck was turning bad was that incident with Pecco, and then not being able to have his first bike and his tyre choice. He had to run the hard front. And so it started to go downhill from there. He was going to be there. The good thing you can take out of the KTM thing has been really sad to watch Jack over the last couple of races. I love the human side that Jack brings to the sport, and I could really see him suffering or wondering if he's missing Ruby because she's gone home, and fast rider, happy rider, fast rider. That's what you see with Jack. He's super fast when he is happy, and he struggled the low grip tracks to make this bike work, and he and Fabio did a really good job today, finishing around 8th. And I've got to say that's the positive I'd take as Jack turned things around a little bit at the end, because otherwise it was in the teens before he did.
He was 8th today, Jack Miller. Fabio was actually the rider I was going to ask you about next. Fabio Quartararo, who started from 17th on the grid. It's been a weekend of real lows for the Japanese manufacturers in general. On Friday, the 2 Yamahas and 4 Hondas collectively were the bottom 6 bikes in the field at the end of Friday's practice session. Quartararo was pretty dejected when I spoke to him on Friday following that. Did have a little smile put on his face because, of course, he's got so much support here. There are so many French fans who've crossed the border here into Barcelona in northern Spain. But it's a ride that's worthy of mention for Fabio Quartararo today. He kept his head down. 17th to 7th, under the circumstances, is a performance that deserves a good little doff of the cap.
Yes, and if there was a weekend that is the bottom of where we've seen the Japanese, it is this weekend. They were consistently the last machines. This morning, yesterday as well, this morning, Fabio and the team turned it around, went, let's try the old aero, see what happens. And he did. He made a good ride. He hasn't given up. And I have not been happy that, I've said it before, people don't like it, that I don't like it when Fabio gives Yamaha a hard time, because the connection or the agreement between a rider and a manufacturer. The official rider is you're their representative, and it's like talking
You're
bad.
talking in private, but not in public.
Exactly. It's like being in a marriage. You can say what you want behind closed doors, try and fix the problem, but out in the open, you don't air your laundry, And people disagree with me. It's because they've never been in that situation and understand the deal. It's like a marriage, I'm sure you'll understand that better. And Fabio recently has turned that around. He's been really professional, and he's been really professional on the bike and off, and he hasn't given up. He's focusing on next year. He's doing a great job, and it must be so hard to swallow for the Honda, all the Japanese manufacturer riders, especially Marc and Fabio. And I think Fabio's on the right track.
One other rider who we perhaps should touch upon, because I'm sure you're wondering from a championship point of view, what happened to Marco Bezzecchi this weekend. He qualified in 10th yesterday morning, finished in 13th position today. In fact, I think he just got 12th in the end ahead of Marc Marquez. Now, Bezzecchi, as you pointed out to us on the grid, had to go with a tyre choice that he certainly never had factored into his thinking, given that, of course, he had to change tyres following the restart. So he had to go for the hard front tyre, which he wasn't expecting to go for at the start of the race. In fact, no, he went for the soft, didn't he, in the end? So he was not going for the medium that many of us thought he would. In the end, when we look at Marco Bezzecchi's weekend, even putting aside what happened at the start of the race today, which impacted his tyre choice, how inconvenienced and disadvantaged was he by essentially losing all of free practice 2 yesterday morning?
Yes, standing back looking, apart from Martine, which he pointed out, Martine and Pecco, they were the standout Ducati riders here, because I think Ducati in general did struggle more here, and they struggled with the long corners, and look, I don't think Marco was going to be at the front, even with the tyre choice, and I think that's what happened, Ducati had a tougher time, couldn't compete except Martine and Pecco Bagnaia, and I wouldn't be too worried. I'm positive that next year he'll figure it out. He'll have a later model bike as well, and future races, meaning these upcoming races, Marco will be back. I'm positive about it.
Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi will bounce back. In the end, he did bring home some useful championship points today, but not the weekend that he'll be too keen to reflect on. Finally, Honda, who we've not really discussed during this show. Marc Marquez got them 3 points in the end in 13th place. But again, much like Yamaha, a weekend that probably hit a new low in terms of their 2023 season yesterday. It's very clear that when you put Marc Marquez in a racing situation, the competitive instincts kick in, and he's putting that Honda in places he probably doesn't deserve to be, but in the end, just had to settle for some small points.
I listened to his debrief last night, and it was inspiring, how much will that man has got. He's so determined, and he's gone through the same as Fabio, like I alluded to before, showing anger and then reeling it back in, having to change his focus that he's built up. Both him and Fabio have built up, wanting to fight for the championship this year, and it's hard to let that go. They have, and they're now both doing the same thing. And I loved listening to Marc's debrief last night. I don't always like Marc, just how brutal, what such a killer he is, but he was inspiring, like I said, how much will he has. He will be back.
Yeah, if there was ever a rider who just exemplified the champion's mentality, Marc Marquez certainly has that. So this pretty intense phase of the MotoGP season, which starts here in Barcelona, continues next weekend. We move on to the San Marino Grand Prix at Misano. We'll be there gearing up for the Grand Prix weekend in just 4 days' time. Very different circuit layout. What kind of challenge will that present to the riders and teams, and which kind of machinery is that likely to favour? I
think it's going to all change there, because you're going from one of the lowest grip circuits on the calendar here to it's a new surface and very high grip, and the people that have been struggling with a low grip are going to be back. I fully expect, for example, Jack's troubles to end, and now that we're going to a high grip track, not end, but meaning jump back up. It's going to mix it all up. I haven't thought yet. We haven't finished this weekend, so I haven't thought clearly. We'll be ready for the Gear Up show to give you my thoughts on that. But it's going to change a lot, and I think we'll have some good racing at Misano.
And of course, there's more than just the Grand Prix itself at Misano next weekend. We've already discussed just at the tail end of this show, Yamaha and Honda. From their point of view, is the test that follows the Grand Prix more important than the race weekend itself?
I would say yes, definitely, because basically the race weekends at the moment are testing what they can, and they're limited on aero because if you've used your update, you can't have more, and they're limited with engine. You're not allowed to change engine, and if the problem with your machine is one of those things, they're kind of going round and round in circles, just playing with what they can. Misano's test is open the first time you can ride your new machine and see if the problems are fixed.
So many questions going into next weekend's San Marino Grand Prix weekend and the test that follows it. We will, of course, give you as many answers as we can here on MotoGP.com with the test that follows next weekend's San Marino Grand Prix, but of course full coverage of the race weekend itself. Pecco Bagnaia will go there with a 50-point World Championship lead. The big question, of course, is to whether Pecco Bagnaia will be fit enough to compete. Our overriding emotions from this Catalan Grand Prix weekend are we wish Pecco Bagnaia all the very best and a speedy recovery. The day in the end belonged to Aprilia, Espargaro and Maverick Vinales securing a 1-2 finish for them. If you are watching us live, the press conference is coming up very, very shortly, so make sure you don't go anywhere. That will be coming up very, very soon. But for myself and Simon and the rest of the team, we will look forward to your company in Misano in just a few days' time. We will see you there.